Hello, and welcome to Best Delegate, your guide to Model United Nations. The purpose of this presentation is to give you a basic understanding of the United Nations, which will help you to succeed at Model UN conferences. If you're going to simulate the United Nations, it's good to first learn something about the UN. In this video, I'm going to talk about a brief history of the UN, how the UN is organized, and the work of the United Nations. The forerunner to the United Nations was the League of Nations, an organization conceived in similar circumstances during the First World War, and established in 1919 under the Treaty of Versailles to promote international cooperation and to achieve peace and security. The League of Nations ceased its activities after failing to prevent the First World War. The name United Nations was coined by United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The name was first used in the Declaration by United Nations in January 1942, during the Second World War, when representatives of 26 nations pledged their governments to continue working together against the Axis powers. World War II was the most devastating war the world has ever seen. As the war ended, the Allies wanted to prevent another world war from happening ever again. One idea they had was to create an international organization that would prevent another world war. This organization would become the United Nations. In 1945, representatives of 50 countries met in San Francisco at the United Nations Conference on International Organization to draw up the United Nations Charter. The charter was signed in 1945 by the representatives of the 50 countries. The United Nations officially came into existence on October 24, 1945, when the charter had been ratified by China, France, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, the United States, and by a majority of other signatories. Every year, UN Day is celebrated around the world on October 24th. The UN headquarters was completed in 1952 and is located in New York City. The UN also has 3 additional headquarters in Geneva, Vienna, and Nairobi. There are 6 official languages of the United Nations: Arabic, Chinese, Spanish, Russian, French, and English. There are 193 member states of the United Nations. There are 6 main organs of the United Nations depicted from left to right: the General Assembly, the Economic and Social Council, the Security Council, the International Court of Justice, the Trusteeship Council, and the Secretariat. In the General Assembly, all 193 member states have an equal voice and a vote. The Security Council is the primary organ responsible for global peace and security, and the UN Charter specifically gives the Security Council the ability to send in peacekeepers and create binding resolutions. There are 5 permanent members of the Security Council: the United States, France, the United Kingdom, Russia, and China. These permanent members have the ability to veto resolutions. There are also 10 rotating seats on the Security Council. The Secretariat is led by Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Ban Ki-moon is the chief diplomat and administrator of the United Nations. The United Nations is actively working to maintain global peace and security. The United Nations is currently working on issues such as nuclear non-proliferation, demobilizing child soldiers, disarming landmines, and promoting peace through peacekeeping. The United Nations is also working to protect the environment, improve opportunities for women, decrease global poverty, and respond to natural disasters. In the year 2000, the United Nations created 8 goals to combat serious global issues by the year 2015. These goals include eradicating extreme poverty and hunger, achieving universal primary education, promoting gender equality and empowering women, reducing child mortality, improving maternal health, combating HIV/AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, ensuring environmental sustainability, and creating global partnerships for development. The United Nations also works to protect the human rights of all people through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and initiatives to prevent human trafficking. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by the General Assembly on December 10, 1948. The Declaration was the result of the experience of the Second World War. With the end of that war and the creation of the United Nations, the international community vowed never again to allow atrocities like those of World War II to occur. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. For more information about Model United Nations and additional resources, please visit bestdelegate.com.